Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball Podcast, episode 68. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaren Wilt each and every week, where we are going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
We are back in our hometown, and we did some traveling this weekend, and it was a good time. And it was a good time. Shout out to all the people in the city of Evansville. Regardless of which side of the town you're on, you know, we kind of discovered while we were there. It's like at the west side is like USI, and the east side is like Evansville. Kind of, at least, you know, you can split it up that way. Not sure what the actual breakdown is, but
yeah,
it was a good time.
I didn't realize how like spread. It's not. I wouldn't say spread out because it doesn't cover a wide area, but like separated, I think is the best way to put it. And Evansville's like, it's what, the third largest city in the state. Did not feel like it, but I think I'm pretty close that it's close to Indiana or Fort Wayne's like population. I think it maybe 50,000 to 100,000.
I'll let you know. Evansville is less than half. They are 115,000. Fort Wayne is almost 270. And
I guess they are smaller than I thought, and in respect to Fort Wayne. But no, it was a great time. I think we got to taste a lot of good food.
That's true.
Underrated pizza in Evansville. Did not know Evansville was a pizza town.
Didn't know it was a pizza town. That is facts. Everyone was recommending thanks to everyone who recommended any of the places. We obviously couldn't go everywhere. We were only there for
not even 12 hours. No, I guess 24 hours.
We were there almost 24 hours, but I mean, our time was mostly spent in the arenas.
Yeah.
So we kind of had the evening, and then we got to stop for donuts on the way out. So it was a good time. So thank you to everyone who was, you know, welcoming to us, talked to us, helped us on our trip down to Evansville.
Yeah, got to meet a lot of cool people. Everyone was welcoming and hospitable.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that there were like so many. We met quite a few people who were like Evansville fans or employees, and also USI grads. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. They stuck around. I mean,
some double dipping.
Think about. I mean, Rags, for example.
Yeah,
is
literally
played at USI and is now coaching Evansville. A lot of pride in the city of Evansville, I think, because like you said, a lot of people either went to school there and then work there, and a lot of people that are from Evansville are working at their respective schools, which is pretty neat. What's also neat is our Crow's Nest Coffee sponsorship. They are the presenting sponsor for our weekly power rankings.
Couldn't find any in Evansville, unfortunately. We tried.
But we did get a good recommendation from them on a coffee place, which was nice.
Yeah, River City Coffee, or River City Coffee, is on Main Street in Evansville. Is delicious. Good coffee. Got that before we went to Evansville shoot around. And
but what we didn't get from them was 15% off.
That's true.
Our orders. But you can receive that discount on every order using promo code TSOB when you visit the Crow's Nest Coffee website. The link is in our YouTube description. It will also be in the audio listeners. It'll be in the description there. But our power rankings this week changed. I think I wouldn't say quite a bit, but a couple teams. They jumped.
Shifts.
Yeah, they shifted, I guess, is the best way to put it. So starting at number 11, we've got IU Indy. They dropped from 10. At 10, we have Ball State, who dropped from 8. 9 is Evansville. They stayed there. 9 is their home for this week, as it was last week. 8, we've got Indiana State, who dropped back one spot from 7. 6 is Valpo. Or excuse me, sorry, I skipped 7. 7 is Southern Indiana, who made a big jump up from 11.
Come on, man. We were just there.
Well,
just there. You can't
so
skip
I was,
them.
I looked at last week's ranking where it saw 7, and then my brain shifted to 6. Remember, numbers, not my thing. You
Math
gave me
major, one-time math major.
We're gonna
We'll never
just
forget.
slide past that.
Print the shirts.
But like I said, 7 is Southern Indiana. 6 is Valpo, who stayed the same. And if you were around last week, you'll know our top 5 stayed the same as with Butler at 5, Notre Dame at 4, Purdue Fort Wayne at 3, Indiana at 2, and then Purdue at 1.
Yeah, rankings, some teams are kind of solidifying themselves that aren't Purdue. Obviously Purdue has spent most of the season there and will probably end there. But some things are shifting around the bottom half.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see that, and it keeps things interesting for sure. Keeps us on our toes.
Absolutely.
You expect you have a team like Southern Indiana who goes 2-0, they move up 4 spots. It's kind of crazy that just like they went 2-0, but every team, a lot of these teams went 0-2 this week or 0-1. So big jumps.
Yep. So I guess starting at Ball State, they also had a big jump, but down in the Torvik rankings. They are 244 down from 208. They went 0-2 this week, bringing their overall record to 8-9 and 2-3 in the MAC. They lost at Ohio 86-71, then lost to Toledo and Worthen Arena 93-75. What do you got? What do you want to talk about these games?
Just a bummer after, a good start to the MAC season, with a road win and then obviously dropping one at home, coming back and winning the next one. Dropping 2. Ohio and Toledo are up at the top of the MAC standings, so it's understandable, but you still don't want to drop 2 in 1 week, especially by the amount that they did. I mean, Ball State against Ohio had 0 fast break points. That's not a recipe for success. And then, I didn't get to watch the Toledo game because of our trip down in Evansville. It was at 2 p.m., which was the same time as the Evansville game. Yeah. So didn't get to check in on that. But the only thing that I kind of saw from that was, actually saw it on the Ball State socials, was there was a statement from Gorcito that he was apologizing for his behavior. And I was like, what the heck happened? So I looked into it, and he had slammed down his water bottle when he got subbed out or something at one point, and then left the bench. And so, you think, when you're down and
tension's high.
Yeah, but I guess the statement was nice. I didn't feel like it was necessary, but Michael Lewis probably holds his team to a high standard, so I get it.
Yeah. I mean, these unfortunately were their 2 largest margins of loss so far this season. Kind of like Adam said, these are 2 of the best teams in the conference that they played, Ohio and Toledo. And like I mentioned, they're 2-3 in the conference. Well, those 3 losses have come to the teams tied for second, Ohio and Toledo, and then one of the teams tied for first with Miami of Ohio. So it is disappointing to see them pick up 2 losses this week. But like you said, I mean, they're playing teams at the top of the MAC, so this is the toughest competition they're gonna see when it comes to the conference. So it gives them opportunities to learn for sure.
Tell us about Butler, Jaren.
Yes, so Butler, they dropped in Torvik as well. Unfortunately, they are 89 down from 82, but they did go 1-0 this week, bringing their overall record to 8-10. They're 1-6 in the Big East due to their win over Seton Hall, 82-77. And because of that, they broke their 9-game losing streak and are also our Hickory Team of the Week. Like I mentioned, ended their 9-game losing streak. This is their highest offensive rating of the season, so offense really kicked it up. It's also notable that Butler has lost their previous 6 straight matchups against Seton Hall, dating back to 2022. So that streak is over. They are starting with a fresh slate. Their defense held Isaiah Coleman, who's Seton Hall's leading scorer, to 11 points. He thus far has been averaging 23.2 in Big East play. So held him to below half of his average against Big East opponents, which is great. They out-rebounded Seton Hall. That's also notable due to their rebounding struggles thus far. Shot 51% from the field, and they had 4 players in double figures. So, due to that, we definitely felt that they earned the honor of Hickory Team of the Week.
I love to see that something changed.
Yep.
It's just hurt my feelings every single time when they would lose, and I'm just glad we're back, man. And so I think that they're, a team that is deserving of their, team of the week honor for sure. I mean, it is about their, what they did this week, but when you think about what they did the last 4 weeks, it's definitely okay, this was different.
Yeah, it was. I think that fits into the the Hickory Huskers were underdogs in every facet.
Mm-hmm.
I think going to this game that I think Butler was favored, but based on the metrics, but on paper they were the underdogs. I think, in my opinion, because of that the last few weeks, like you said. So
yeah, and I mean, this is this was as a must-win game, as must-win of a game as there can be for the
at
team.
This point. Yeah,
and probably the easiest game on one of the easiest games on the schedule remaining. So you have to have this one to build some momentum to, do what they have to do next week, which is going to be significantly harder than this. So
yeah,
nice to have that win and not going in there, 0-10.
Yep. What about Evansville? Let's talk about them.
Yeah, so Evansville went down 272 from they're down from 272 down to 278. They went 0-2 this week, unfortunately, and 6-13 overall, and they're 3-5 in the Missouri Valley. So their first game of the week was against Northern Iowa. They lost 73-57. Northern Iowa is, a good team in the Missouri Valley. I think they're right up at the top of the standings, one of them. And then they lost to Belmont 85-82. That was the game that we were at. So I think we have, more for the Belmont game, probably.
Yeah.
But we'll kind of, I guess, I mean, we can talk about our time at Evansville now, or we can just talk about our trip once we finish the teams. It's up to you. What do you want to do?
Let's talk about the games, right?
And then we can just talk about
at the end. We can recap everything because there's quite a bit I want to say about both.
Yeah.
So let's just get through the recap portion, and then we'll recap our trip. Thing to note in the Belmont game, Posado is back, so it was nice to see him back on the court. Didn't have a huge impact, but
positive to have him out there.
His presence
out there.
He didn't have an impact on the stat sheet, but I think his presence
helped free some other people up.
was a bit of a nuisance for Belmont, but again, I mean, Belmont still pulled it off, but Posado's who they needed back, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got Tayshawn Comer, who's been, an incredible scorer this whole time that he's been out, and he was great in the UNI game. He played all 40. He went 5 for 15 and 1 for 7 from 3, but he was just out there trying to will them into it because their bigs were absolutely destroyed by fouls. They had 4 bigs foul out. Turnbull and Tesh fouled out in 14 minutes. Hughes fouled out in 15 minutes, and then Michael Day fouled out in 23 minutes. That's 20 fouls.
Yeah.
20 fouls right there for your front court. So, I mean, winning on the road when you have no front court is going to be tough, especially against UNI, who's absolutely going to take advantage of that. So,
yeah, I mean, and Evansville's also just been playing down in terms of availability for guys. They've dealt with the Posado injury. Right, was an injury. He was sick.
He had an injury.
He had an injury.
He's been sick for a couple weeks.
But there are
injury for a couple weeks.
Yeah, but there are several players who are sick as well. So mending some illness and some did not plays, but they're I think slowly getting back to full force, which is something I think these aces need. Comer, at 12-minute mark, Comer had 6 points, and
in the Belmont. Are we back to the Belmont game?
In the Belmont game, yeah. And I said, I was like, this is Comer's game. It, in fact, ended up being Cam Hafner's game.
Cam Hafner was playing like Superman, dude.
He had popped off. He had 25. Comer did finish with 16, so another high-scoring output from him. But
Hafner can hit from anywhere, man. He's pulling up from like 8 to 10 feet behind the line.
He went 7 for 12
whenever he wants.
Yeah,
and
dude can knock it down.
Yeah, he's one that you're like, when he pulls up, you're like, yeah, go for it, man. Like
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, for sure. He went 9 for 15 for the field. So it's crazy. He went 2 for 3 from 2-point range, but 7 for 12 from 3. So
yeah, and like, you know, the game started out, Belmont was really hot from 3. Like they were shooting 50% or 70%. They were like 7 of 10 at one point.
Yep.
And then I think they missed their next 3 to kind of end the first half. And, you know, credit to Evansville's defense for adjusting, because they were getting anything that they wanted, you know, out on the perimeter at first. And, you know, the defensive adjustment was there, and much needed, but came up a little bit short in this one.
Yep. So let's move on to Indiana. They did drop 11 spots in Torvik. They're 63 from 52. Yes, that is it. They went 1-1 this week, bringing their record to 14-5 overall, 5-3 in the Big Ten. They got decimated against Illinois at Assembly Hall, 94-69. And they won at Ohio State, 77-76 in overtime, picking up their first quad 1 win of the season. I don't want to talk about the Illinois game, so if you have anything to say, I'll give you your opportunity now.
You had a triple technical and a flagrant too. This game was, you know, rock bottom performance. Hopefully it was rock bottom. Like hopefully it goes up from here, and then it's hard to go down from there.
Yeah.
I mean, Illinois is a good team that can score it, but like it was just terrible. I mean, they looked terrible. There were just so many clips. Like you had so many people talking about Indiana just negatively. And talking about like the effort, and talking about, you know, they paid for this roster, and it got pretty dark. It got pretty dark on Twitter. Yeah. And so that stunk. And then, you know, you kind of felt like coming out of that game, there were going to be 2 options. Like the team is either going to put up another stinker, and that's just kind of what it's going to be all year, or they're going to respond and they're actually going to come out with a win against Ohio State at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And Ohio State, a team that like started pretty hot, like had a lot of momentum, and people were really high on them, and then has kind of simmered down, taking some questionable losses, an almost questionable loss to
Minnesota
that absolutely should have been a loss to Minnesota at home. But, you know, the Ohio State game was much better. What do you have?
I was going to say, at the end of the Illinois game, on the post-game press conference, Luke Goody and Anthony Leal were there. Anthony Leal, starter now.
Yeah, he started the Ohio State game.
Yeah, he started the Ohio State game. But Anthony Leal and Goody had some, you know, things to say, because in this Illinois game, I mean, fans were yelling, chanting "Fire Woodson" in the middle of the game,
which is wild.
But Goody, being the leader that we've seen him be all season, had some. He had a positive outlook. He acknowledged, he's like, yeah, we've not been good, but we're gonna figure it out. And then he went on Twitter and dunked on a pundit that is an IU alumnus.
He went to war with Dockich. Just say it.
He went to war with Dan Dockich. You know, dunked
Dan
on
Dockich
him.
Doesn't watch our show.
Yeah, true. Dunked on him on Dockich and the replies on Twitter. And then backed it up by having the best game of his career. He played 41 minutes against Ohio State. He had 23 points, 4 for 7 from 3, 7 for 14 from the floor, and a block. So he played outstanding against Ohio State. Ballo also played outstanding. Mentioned it, but shout out to Leal for getting a start. I think his last start was against Northwestern 2 or 3 years ago, when half the team was suspended for that game. I think we.
I can't guarantee that was his last start, but that's the last one I remember.
Yeah. But kind of like Adam said, I just really hope that Illinois was a wake up call that they needed to to finish the rest of the season strong.
Yeah, I mean, they did it without Miles Rice playing very much. He was in foul trouble, and that's something that you thought that they were going to need was his presence, and they did it without him. They did it
Malik
also
Reneau still.
Yeah, without Renew, and they did it primarily without Mackenzie Mbako, who's I just assume is in a slump. Right now, that's what I'm gonna choose to believe. That it's just kind of a slump, and that he's gonna come out of it because he's been such a good scorer. The thing with him is when he's not scoring, he's kind of less engaged on defense. So you want to see him scoring because then you're better on both sides of the ball. But yeah, I mean, good. Shout out Luke Goody from Fort Wayne. So repping the hometown, man.
Holding it down for the 260.
Yep.
Indiana State moved down 30 spots in Torbeck. They're 234 from 204. They went 0-2 this week, 9-10 overall with a 3-5 Missouri Valley Conference record. They lost at Bradley 1-8. They I'm not going to be mean. They lost at Bradley 118-65. That is a very large margin that I will not further acknowledge. They lost to Drake 71-53. The Bradley game was at Bradley, and the Drake game was in the Holdman Center.
I thought that the biggest beatdown was going to be Illinois at Indiana, which could have been a bigger beat if they hadn't taken their foot off the gas a little bit at the end. And then Bradley came out and scored 66 points in the first half against Indiana State, and Indiana State would have lost the game if Bradley scored 0 in the second half.
That's a way to put it.
118 points in regulation is absurd, especially against a conference opponent who's like Indiana State was not at the bottom of the conference. And like they were 3-3 when this game happened.
Yeah. It's absurd when it's not an Alabama versus Kentucky game, which we'll touch on later. But I mean, it's disappointing because Indiana State dropped their 4th straight game. They moved to 1-5 in the month of January. So not new year, new me for the Sycamores. 53 points that they scored against Drake is the fewest scored this season and the fewest since January 30th, 2022, when they scored 52 against Bradley.
I actually, you know what I did and I shouldn't have done is I actually went on the Bradley website because I wanted to see what they had to say about this game. Because I was like, I'm going to find some interesting things.
Yeah.
It's the first time sweeping 2 regular season meetings against Indiana State since 2009. It's tied for the 6th most 3-point field goals in a single game in Bradley history, 16. It's the first regulation 100-point game versus a D1 opponent since 2007, which was versus Drake. They scored 100. The most points in a half since 08-09, 61 versus Rutgers. What was going on there? The most points versus a D1 opponent since 1990 when they had 117 versus Lamar. And so that's all I have to say about that one because I just want to move on. Let's call it a fluke. And we've seen some bad beats. I think this is the biggest loss of the season because Evansville took their 50-point loss at Ohio State. But this is, a 53-point loss. So then you followed up with a loss to Drake. That's it. I don't have anything else, man, other than, they gotta look like how they looked when the Missouri Valley conference started, when the conference play started.
Yeah, I mean, they did play 3 games in a row against the top 3 teams in the conference, so it was a tough stretch there for them, similar to Ball State. But let's go on to IU Indy, Adam.
So the Jags, this week, they're the Jags. They went down 1 spot in Torvik. They're 308th, down from 307. They went 0-2 this week. That brings them to 6-14 overall and 2-7 in the Horizon League. They lost at Oakland 72-59, and then they lost to Cleveland State at home 73-62. I believe they're still 1 win away, right?
Yes.
From beating their win total from last year.
That is correct.
So they've got,
I believe, beating their win total for both conference and overall, if I'm not mistaken.
They have at minimum 12 more games to get 1 win.
Yep.
And then they will eclipse last year's.
Yeah, I want to confirm that they had 2 conference wins last season. There's either 2 or 3. 2. So yeah, by getting 1 more win, they will eclipse their win totals in both categories.
They just couldn't shoot very well against Oakland. And then that's just Oakland's defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're just gonna attack you. And then they were down 21, 11-0 run. You think it's coming back, and then they just not enough time.
Yeah, I mean, it was their only once this season have they had a worse offensive efficiency night, and that was against Iowa State, who is the 5th ranked defense in the nation. So, yeah. And then the Cleveland State game, I think, is what was most disappointing to me. They were leading at half. They had a really good first half. Then they started the second half strong. Then they hit a lull, a 6-minute lull to be specific, in the middle of the second half, where Cleveland State scored 13 straight, and then held IU Indy scoreless for that 6-minute span. Started to claw back a little bit again towards the end of the second half, but it was just they were just depleted, I think, at that point, and weren't able to pull it off. So a little upsetting there. Selfishly, I wanted this win for 2 reasons. 1, because I wanted the Jags to get a win, and 2, because it would have helped Purdue Fort Wayne. Cleveland State is still, I believe,
8-1. They're still sole first place.
Yeah, sole first place, and with this loss, they would have, I think, been tied, right?
Yep, they would have been tied at 7-2.
Yep. So, was upset from both perspectives there. Anything else from IU Indy?
No, I mean, we can talk about somebody else who was upset. If we're talking about Notre Dame, because they went down in Torvik 85-91. They went 1-1 this week. They are now 8-10, and they are 2-5 in the ACC. Their win this week came over Boston College, 78-60, and then their loss, the final score is a little bit larger than you thought it was going to be. The deficit there, they lost at Syracuse 77-69. They were up in this game for a while.
Yeah, let's talk about the Boston College game first, if there's anything.
Tay Davis is great, 26 points, just cooking. Burton dropped 20. I mean, he's just back where he left off, and then they did it going 3 of 15 from the 3.
I'll take it.
And they almost won by 20. So like that's awesome. I mean, Boston College, I think, will forever be doo-doo. But winning without hitting threes is always a good thing when you're not playing like the way you want to play.
Yep. And
shots aren't falling and you still win by 18. That's a win in my book. I mean, it literally is a win, but like, it's a win.
Yeah. It's a moral victory.
No, it's still a literal victory.
Well, I mean, it's additionally,
it's reassuring, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry to distract you from you were talking about the Syracuse game. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't.
No, they were up and they just gave up a humongous lead. Like things, we'll talk about the end of it. Like things, I understand why things were so heated a little bit.
Yeah, I mean they were up 17 to be specific. Syracuse came storming back. Burton again had an opportunity to hit a 3-pointer that would have tied the game late with like 2 or less seconds on the clock.
Man,
yeah. So that's just you hate to see that. I still love that Burton is the guy that they're going to.
We were listening on mute because we were at USI.
Yes, it was in the middle of the USI.
They called an illegal screen on someone when Burton was on the screen that Burton received.
Yeah.
And so he made the layup, but they called the illegal screen. And so
that was the possession before the missed 3.
Yeah, that was their it was the classic Burton gets down the lane.
Yep.
He gets to the hoop and made it this time, but unfortunately the illegal screen.
Yep. But yeah, you talked about being heated. Micah Shrewsbury went absolutely ballistic on the ref. Like,
yeah, we totally skipped over the first ref show we saw. But we'll talk about that with our Evansville thing.
Yeah, Shrews was dang near in the Syracuse coaching box by the time his entire assistant coaching staff was able to quite literally hold him back and walk him back. But he did receive a double technical foul on that, resulting in an ejection with less than a second on the clock.
I've never seen someone point so angry.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna. I thought we were gonna see a Juwan Howard.
Dude, I thought we were gonna see,
but instead of a coach,
fights involving refs in one day.
Yeah,
and like we had just turned it on because we were watching USI, and like I had turned it on because I saw the score, and I like tapped you, and like we were looking, we're like, what's he so mad about?
Yeah, because it was like. It was after the Burton missed three, and there was like a scuffle for a rebound under the rim. Then all of a sudden, Bruce is just running off of the picture, right? The camera.
Yeah, he's just gone.
Yeah. And then they like zoom in and showed like the coaches holding him back, and they replayed it like 4 or 5 times. Or I guess we replayed it like 4 or 5 times by rewinding.
We were like, we had to have missed something like.
Yeah, and that's why the score is larger than that, because they had the opportunity to shoot 4 free throws.
Yeah.
And get the ball back. So that was just absolutely wild. And then I tweeted from my account, not even from our account. And I what did I say?
You said say what you want about Micah Shrewsbury, but he will absolutely fight for you or something like that.
Yeah, say what you want about Shrewsbury, but he's got at least he's got fight in him or something like that. Something along those lines. And then several fans, were in our replies. Apparently fans hate Micah Shrewsbury. I don't know. I understand the frustration that they've, had all of these close games and ended up losing. And they've also, in these games where they've been close and lost at the buzzer, they were leading.
I'm surprised that they were tuned into this game, if I'm being honest. Like, aren't they just still focused on football until Monday?
There's nothing going on. There's no football events.
What do you mean there's nothing going on? Southern Indiana was playing in Liberty Arena.
Well, I meant like,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's nothing football related. When it comes to Notre Dame. But yeah, it was just wild. I didn't realize that there are fans who are as angry at Shrews seemingly as IU fans are at
They're not. Woodson. They just think that they should just be winning immediately and, not even going to talk about the recruiting class he's bringing in, like just whatever. I don't have anything on Notre Dame. I mean, that was crazy. I literally thought he was going to fight the ref. I literally did. Thought he was just going to attack him.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yeah. So let's move on to Purdue Fort Wayne. They moved down 1 spot in Torvik. As you can note, so far, every team has dropped in Torvik, it was really painful.
Unusual.
It was really painful typing all these in. But they're 150 from 149. They did go 1-0 this week. So bringing their overall record to 14-6, 7-2 in the conference. Like we said, they are sitting in second place. But their win was over Wright State, 120 to 113 in double overtime. So Adam, I'm gonna hand this over to you and let you tell me about the game.
We didn't catch a lot of this game because we were at. I guess we didn't mention this because we went on a road trip. We were at St. Francis, Fort Wayne versus Grace College.
Yep.
Went to an NAIA game. Watched our friend of the show, Scott Moore, coach the men into a win.
The Grace men.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you know, right?
Well, yeah, but some people who don't.
Come on, man. Put some respect on Grace. It was great. So like this was like right after the game. that I was tuned into the end, and it was awesome. Like, it was awesome just to see, like, even I feel like the announcers were just like saying things and then they would happen, because they were like, Purdue Fort Wayne's down 6, but they've got such a quick offense that they can, they can come back. And like literally next play, I don't remember I think it was a Rashid Bello takes the ball up, or maybe, no, I think he just gave it straight to Jalen Jackson, and he just goes straight to the hoop, boom, gets into the lane and scores. It was like immediately, like 3 seconds. And then they're down 5. Jalen hits a 3.
Forget about the Cutthroat dunk.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They hit 2 free throws. They get it down in like 3 seconds. Get it to Cottrell. He dunks it. It's going into, this is an overtime. So they make it an overtime. This right at the end of overtime, it's like they're gonna lose. They're down 2. They get the ball. They're full court pressing. Wright State gets the ball in. They trap them. My phone goes blurry. All of a sudden, Jalen Jackson has the ball, lays it in, going to double overtime, and then I don't think they missed. Quentin Robertson had 8 in double overtime, just absolutely cooked them. They were supposed to win this game pretty handily. Wright State's still gonna be tough. I mean, when you got Dan Beret on the sidelines, right? It's gonna be a tough out. Gonna be a tough out,
especially going against this former team.
Yeah, Dan Beret used to be an assistant coach under Dane Fife. So,
yeah. And I think he played at PFW as well. Well, I guess at the time it was IPFW.
I'm not gonna fact check you, but probably
pretty positive.
They're still missing. So they won this game. They're still missing Mulder, but Cottrell has been great. He had 20 and 16, so he's cleaning up the boards just as well as Mulder would be. Great offensive production. I mean, their offense is just like, Kaufman was on the show. Jaren unfortunately called him not sexy, but their offense is sexy, man. They can score so quick, and they get the shot they want. I feel like 80-90% of the time. Like they're just it's just such a fun offense to see.
You find every excuse to twist my words about.
That's not your words. You literally said it.
No, I didn't.
You literally said it.
Those weren't my words. Go back and listen.
You said.
Go back and listen.
You're not. You said you said it. He even repeated it. He even repeated it for emphasis, Jaren.
All right. Purdue repeated a couple things this week. They moved up in Torvik, won from their 12 from 13. And they repeated their victories by going 2-0. They're 15-4 overall, 7-1 in the Big Ten. They took a West Coast road trip, went out and beat Washington 69-58.
Pacific Northwest.
And then they still went west.
I'm just saying the West Coast trip is UCLA, USC.
They took a trip to the West Coast. It is still the West Coast. It is just also, more specifically,
these teams aren't on they're not coastal teams.
Oh, okay. Well, they won at Oregon 65-58. Yeah, that's a couple fun stats that I have.
Okay, go.
So, talked about it last week with Caleb First being tied for 4th. Like his senior class, him being the only one, was tied for 4th in wins over the season.
At Purdue.
At Purdue. Wins in their time at Purdue. But now 107-23 during his career. That moved him up to be tied for 3rd. And that was last year's class.
I need to know what the number is that he needs to get to.
110.
Okay.
So, as long as they win 3 more games this season,
I am hopeful.
He will his class.
I'll cross my fingers.
Yeah. Yep. So, that's one of the stats. Another stat. So, I mean, you will notice they didn't score a lot of points, but they didn't need to because their defense is just playing on another level. I mean, they held both teams at 58. Washington is not as good of a team as Oregon, because Oregon was ranked, I think, 13 at the time. Purdue was 17th. But after the Auburn game, right, where they lost, Purdue was ranked 83rd in adjusted defensive efficiency in the nation.
Okay.
They're now ranked 28th. So big jump over the last, I believe, 7 games. But when you just isolate those 7 games, they're 7th in the nation in defensive efficiency. So, really good defense these days.
Dude, I mean, the defense lives here. What they say, man.
Yeah,
it's what they build their foundation on, and I love that. We talked about Notre Dame winning without hitting their threes. Purdue literally didn't hit a 3 in the first half against Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And it was crazy just to see, like, they can't hit a 3, and then Great Osibor hits his 3rd 3 of the season somehow. Like, I didn't understand it. It was, like, absolutely absurd. Like, the first half looked bleak, and I still think there's, like, a little bit of panic deep inside of, like, Purdue fans online when, like, something like this happens, like, because they've experienced some heartbreak, and it's like there's like this deep inside thing that, like, deep down, that's like, all right, so this is where it happens, right? This is where it happens. This is where they get us. Nope, they handled it. Second half was great, and then another shout out to someone from Fort Wayne, Caleb First. You shouted him out again. 15 points in this one. He was awesome. They really, really needed him, and it's a good thing he's not in med school right now, because they need him on this team for sure.
Yep.
Outscored him 47-28 in the second half there. Just defense locked in. And then Oregon, this team is going to be ranked. Sorry. Rephrase. This team should be ranked in the top 10, if not like the top 8 tomorrow when the AP poll comes out. I just still have no faith.
Jumping 9 spots.
Yeah, when, like, almost everybody in front of them lost.
Yeah, a lot of we didn't have the chance to get the full list, but a lot of teams in the top 25 lost this week.
I mean, I have the list of teams who won, who didn't take a loss.
Yeah.
So the people that were above them that won were 12 Michigan State, 10 Houston, 3 Duke, and 1 Auburn. Everyone else took a loss above them. So, like, they should move to the top 10. If they don't, then it's AP voters once again letting us down.
Speaking of teams that didn't take a loss, Southern Indiana,
the Screagles.
They moved up 5 spots in Torvik. I almost said 6. Whoo, saved myself. They are 336 up from 341. They did go 2-0 this week. They're 8-10 on the season, 3-5 in the OVC. They won over Lindenwood 80-73, and they won over Western Illinois 78-66 while we were in attendance. So we are 1-0. Unfortunately, we're 0-1 at the Ford Center, but I personally, depending on how you look at it, I'm 0-2 in the Ford Center.
Well,
I'd call
you
it a
are
wash.
1-1. You are 1-1 for Evansville in the Ford Center, though.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But like for teams that you're rooting for in the Ford Center, yeah, you're 0-2.
Yeah, because I was back then. It was 2019. I was rooting for Ball State, and they lost in the Ford Center. But we're 1-0 in Liberty Arena due to that Western Illinois win. What do you got from the Lindenwood game, Adam? Anything notable?
Damani Harrison, incredible.
Go.
Jalen Randall, incredible. Jack Milkey, incredible. Those 3 just carried. And then you have, like, I should have written it down when he said it, but Brad was telling us, he does the radio for USI, he was telling us that they were, like, something absolutely absurd in, like, their last 3 games before the Lindenwood game, where they were, like, minus 68 on the boards or something. And then in the Lindenwood game, they were plus 19 on the rebounds. They out-rebounded Lindenwood 47-26. So shout out to the coaching staff for really getting on them about rebounding and Randall was back after missing 2 games with an ankle injury. 5-0 run to end it. Then they snapped their 5-game losing streak. So we saw some losing streaks end this week.
Losing skids.
We didn't see all of them end, though.
Correct.
But theirs ended, and then, Western Illinois, Imani Harrison, great again. 26 back-to-back games. So
Yeah.
I would imagine he's going to be. I mean, I don't pay attention to what everyone else in the OVC does every single week, but I would imagine he's going to be OVC Player of the Week.
I would hope.
If he's not, then someone's dropping 50.
Right.
They're dropping 50 burgers.
Yeah. In the Western Illinois game, it was some of the cleanest defensive switching I've seen in a long time. Like there was one moment in the first half, you walked away, I think, to go to the restroom or something.
I was looking for the media room.
Okay, yeah, you were wandering, and you just missed some incredible defense being played by the Screagles. I mean, Jack Campion also in that time hit a step back 3, which led to a defensive possession that I was hyper focused on. And there was just like 4 or 5 different like screens trying to be set, and Screagles players were switching just flawlessly. It was a absolute clinic out there, and then obviously they got the stop, so that was pretty sweet.
I feel like we saw that. We went to shoot around for USI.
Yep.
And I feel like we saw that's what they wanted to do because of when they were doing their, they do their walkthrough, as every team does a walkthrough, and the scout team is out there pretending to be Western Illinois, and so then they were we were seeing like, you're this guy, like blah blah blah, here's your plan, and we saw what their plan was, and then got to see them executing it. So it was really cool to see like
the behind the scenes,
that aspect of it, because like obviously I know that's what they do. Like I have played basketball before, like I know that's what you do, like that's what you do. But like to see it at that high of level where it's literally like, do not, like, if you're do not fail on this one thing. Like if you're guarding him, specifically do this, do not give that up. No questions asked.
Yeah. And speaking of shoot around, there's a couple things that I want to point out. A couple weeks ago, after I guess probably a month or so ago, we saw Southern Indiana play in Fort Wayne against Purdue Fort Wayne, and I talked about it on the show after that we just saw how much of a leader Milky is for that team.
Yeah,
like G was calling to him to help the players get things right. We saw that, and I saw that at least in shoot around as well. He knew the scout perfectly, seemingly, from all aspects. Like he was telling dudes where to be and when, like where to trail, where to move, and like getting them set up. As G and Sprue, I believe, had the scout, so he was the primary like coach, I guess, during shoot around to help get them set up. But G and Sprue were just sitting there silent as Milky was getting his guys where they need to be. And that to me just like speaks volumes. Like obviously we knew he was the leader. We know he's their captain, but being able to see it in another aspect, I think, was just further validates that.
There's like one point late in the second half, they're up and they're trying to, keep their foot on the gas, and they're trying to break away because it was getting close. And I don't remember who was going to the line. They got an and one or something, and he was like calling that, they were doing their huddle before the free throws. And he was like really, really calling them over, like get over here, and talking. And I don't know what he's saying, but it's working. Like he's definitely a captain on that floor. And I don't know. We got to have him on. First of all, we got to have him. We got to have him on. I mean, he will be, I guess, graduating, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Right, because if he's just a senior, if this is his 4th year, then he's just done. We got to have him on sometime, maybe before he graduates, because I want to find out what his plans are. Because if he's not planning on going into coaching, he needs to go into coaching. That dude absolutely needs to. The way he sees the game is incredible. Yeah,
and then another thing I saw in shoot around was, we've talked about it several times this season that he just needs to get going from the 3-point line, or I guess from beyond the 3-point line. And he's been pretty hit or miss. Like there's some games where he does well, some games where he just can't see the ball go in. And we were just so hyper focused at one point at the end. G was just dishing him dimes as he was taking shots, and it was just money.
Mm-hmm.
Like G's sole purpose, it felt in that moment, was give Milky good passes, get him hot.
They were so effortless, man.
They were just beautiful. Like it was a clinic. It was a passing clinic.
Yeah,
without even being effort. Anything else before we?
We'll talk more about them,
yeah.
but let's talk about Valpo. They went down 10 spots in Torvik from 213 down to 223. They went 0-2 this week. They had to play some tough opponents. So they're 10-9 on the season and 3-5 in the Missouri Valley. So they lost at Belmont 71-64. So that's a shared loss with Evansville. And then they lost at home to UIC, Illinois Chicago, 81-74. The only really thing that I have here is that Tyler Schmidt in his NAIA and NCAA career has now eclipsed 2,500 points. Bucket. Yeah, walking bucket, dude.
Yeah. Couple of things I just want to mention this week from Valpo. They are unfortunately on a 3-game losing skid. So you alluded to it. Some teams didn't break their streaks. Valpo being one of them. But it's also the 3rd straight game that Valpo was even or ahead in field goal percentage, but lost. That's wild.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately UIC defeated. The UIC defeat, right? Losing to UIC snapped a 4-game home winning streak for Valpo. So they were previously had won their last 4 straight in the arc. That streak has ended, unfortunately. So I hated seeing that.
Mm-hmm. You know, these teams are all, I guess, let me specify. These teams that in Indiana that we talk about are all in the Missouri Valley. Valpo, Evansville, Indiana State are all 3-5 now. They're all right there.
Yeah.
Like, they're all right there. You're close to 500.
They've all played they've played tough teams so far, and there's it
Evans,
felt like their schedule so far has been pretty top heavy in terms of
like Valpo has already played Belmont. They've already played Illinois Chicago. They already played Drake. You know, they played Drake hard. I think they played Murray too. Maybe they didn't. Let me look it up.
I got it
right here. Let's see. They lost at Murray State. They played Belmont. They played UIC. They played Indiana State. They played UNI, like Missouri State. So they played, Bradley. They played all the big ones.
Yep.
So if you look at their upcoming games, Evansville's coming, Southern Illinois State should be tough, but no, I don't know, man. This is a tough schedule. That's a tough schedule. They have Missouri State's like their only one that they got.
Scheduling has been pretty tough right now. But so okay, here's a question for you, Adam. Do we want to talk about our trip? Do you want to tell me about the player of the week?
Let's do Jimmy Chitwood first. Let's bang that out since we're kind of on a roll.
Yep.
Jimmy Chitwood this week goes to Damani Harrison from Southern Indiana. He was incredible in their 2 wins this week. He dropped 26 points against Lindenwood, and then he followed it up with another 26-point outing against Western Illinois at home in Liberty Arena. So this week he's 50% from 3, 54% from the field. He had 16 boards, dropped 52 points, and that led them, and he led the team to an 80-73 win over Lindenwood and a 78-66 win over Western Illinois. Got this team back on track in the OVC to really make a surge to the top and really contend for a top 4, top 3, top 2. Dare I say top 1 spot in the OVC tournament when the season ends. I think that they have it in them. If he plays like this and they play like this, how they did against Western Illinois, they're not going to lose.
For sure.
They're not going to lose. So
shout
out to Damani. You were incredible, and glad we got to see one of these games in person.
Me too. So Evansville, right? We took a 4.5-hour trip south, across time zones.
Yeah, man.
Left it.
Had my brain in a pretzel.
You had my brain in a pretzel.
That's true.
I don't do
I think we obviously think of everything in Eastern.
Yeah, converting across time zones is so difficult for me. And I've had to do it so many times throughout my career so far, especially in my past jobs. And even now, I work with every time zone in the world pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But we were trying to figure out what time do we need to leave Fort Wayne to get down there to make both shoot arounds. And I got to the point where I was just like, I need you to tell me what time I'm.
Tell me specifically what time.
Tell me exactly what time you need me to pick you up, and I will be there. So I picked you up at 5:15, and we hit the road.
Mm-hmm.
Got down there with 30 minutes to spare before Evansville shoot around.
Yeah.
Got coffee at River City Coffee.
River City.
You mentioned. Cute little place.
Yeah, they had a lot of Evansville merch. It was cool.
All nice locally sourced. It's a coffee shop, but they just have different sections of local vendors and craft makers that sold some really cool stuff. They had some fun socks with little labels on them.
Yeah. It was a nice. I mean, my coffee was really good. Got flat white. It was delicious. Crow's Nest, but it was good. Came with the recommendation of Elliot. So.
Yeah, so if our coffee guy is telling us where to get coffee, we're probably going to trust him a little.
Yeah, then we got into the Ford, went to shoot around, got to chop it up with Michael and Logan for a long time. So shout out to them, great host there, and then got to talk to Ragland.
Cool dude.
Almost threw on a jersey, almost threw on some jerseys, right? And
yeah, he
almost stepped in the game.
Yeah, we reaffirmed that we both have 4 years of eligibility and 5 fouls to give.
That's right.
And he literally said, take a look around, see the numbers that people are wearing. Let me know if it's a number that's not being worn. We'll get you a jersey and get you on the court. He's also fly as hell. He's got swag.
Yeah.
I think I tweeted it from my account, my personal Twitter. But I was like, he's, in my opinion, flyest coach in the MVC. Might be flyest coach in NCAA. In Division 1, he might be. What do the kids say?
What do the kids say? He's got aura.
He do be having aura.
He's got aura.
He
for
do
sure.
have aura. Evans, their coaching gear, absolutely sick.
Yeah,
they were wearing these matching joggers that were nice because they had cargo pockets on the side. But they were just clean.
And then I was telling you before we got there for the game, I was like, dude. It was literally when we were walking to the Ford, I was like, I just love the orange for Evansville. And then the coaches were wearing orange. And I was like,
they had these sick,
I gotta have one of them.
Orange Nike quarter zips. That was a quarter zip hoodie, but the hood folded up and packed into the collar.
Mm-hmm.
So it just looked fire. I was gonna order one. I'm a baseball coach. I was gonna order one from Nike with the Cool White Coaches that logo. But then I found out you have to have a minimum quantity of 6.
You got other coaches.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to front that bill.
Yeah, that's true.
Want to talk about the ref?
Well, hang on. Let's just kind of go through. So after we went to shoot around, then we drove across town. We went to Southern Indiana. Chopped it up with Brad, who does radio. Went and watched shoot around. Hung out for a little bit, and then
an hour.
Yeah, their shoot around was an hour.
Yeah,
they were doing, getting their scout right. So that was cool. Then we left from there, and we got recommendations obviously, and then everyone was asking us where we were going for lunch, and the thing we kept hearing at that point was go to Comfort. Everyone's go to Comfort. If you're gonna go get some food in the morning, go to Comfort. So we went to Comfort. Really nice atmosphere. It would have probably been a really good place to go in the evening for some drinks.
Yeah,
that's what the vibe we wanted.
It was like a little cocktail bar type breakfast brunch place.
Yeah.
I got a basic scramble.
Yeah.
Scrambler, and then you got a
sandwich
and
fries and some coffee. It's good. They said the breakfast is good. I'm more of a lunch guy, but
See, breakfast is my thing. I love breakfast.
I like it simple. So I just like to, if I'm gonna get something out of a restaurant, I'm I don't know. I'm gonna get something not what I can just make at home. Which I'm not gonna make it scramble. Anyway, so then we went from Comfort.
Pretty much sprinted to the Ford Center.
Yeah, to the Ford because we stayed, for the hour shoot around. Went to the Ford Center. And it was superhero day, the Ford.
Yep.
So it was superhero day, and they had children from Peyton Manning
Children's Hospital, yeah.
and they were all wearing capes. It was really cute, and we were in the danger zone because, like, what was it at? Was it at halftime?
It was halftime.
Halftime, they had all the kids come out, and they had this gigantic box of mini basketballs, like tiny,
like stress ball size.
Yeah,
mini basketballs,
and they're just chucking them everywhere. And I was like, we were on the court basically, right off the court. We're gonna get hit in the face.
Yeah, there were a couple of times kids just had absolute lasers, but then there's some that were like, they were small children, right? Like I'm talking like age 3 to age like 10.
Yeah,
maybe even not even quite 10. But they don't have the strongest arms, some of them. And we thought we were gonna get smoked with one.
But we didn't.
So
that was good.
We were safe. Want to talk about Courtside Kid?
Dude, your boy.
So they do this promo where they put 2 or I guess 3 seats under the baseline basket, and they pick random kids to win those seats for the the best seat in the house.
Is that what they did?
Yeah, you were gone when they announced that. Focus on the kids, put them on camera. But this kid, he probably like 7 or 8, right? And he just was just hilarious. Like he was shooting fadeaways at halftime during this with the stress ball. Like all the kids were throwing out the balls, and homie's just under the rim shooting fadeaways from.
You get a chance to put shots up in the Ford Center. You're not passing it up, man.
He and the entire time he just like asserted himself into everything, and it was just awesome. Like before the game, the refs were walking by, or one of the refs was walking by, and he was like, "Hey ref, have a good game." Or he's like, "Hey, how's it going, man?" To the ref, and he's like, "Have a good game." And he was just like, it made his day. Like he was so, you could just see the stars in his eyes.
Well, one of the I don't know if it was the same ref, but one of the refs let him have the ball during some media timeouts.
It was the same ref.
Around.
It was the same ref, like
stuff.
Dribbling around at media timeouts. He before the second half started, he was shooting fadeaways right with the stress ball, but then he just grabbed the game ball.
Yeah,
and he was just, started taking shots.
It was he's got gumption, I guess.
And at one point, one of the student media workers went and sat next to him to take photos. That kid got down on the floor next to him. And, somehow the camera ended up in his hand, and the kid was just taking photos,
pictures
of the game. That was just
he was having a good time.
Incredible. They've also got a baseline beer club there, and apparently, all the people that are go into that are season ticket holders, and most of them don't even know where their season tickets are. They don't know where their seats are because they just go and just pound beers,
hang out with the bros.
It was just
and then we got to meet Chris,
yep. One of our followers stopped by and said what's up.
In the wild, as Jaren would say.
Yeah, I did say it's fun meeting fans in the wild. And then we'll talk about the fight, the almost fight.
Yeah.
So I've got a full breakdown of what happened.
All right, go for it, because it was insane. It was one of the craziest things I've seen.
Pretty much what happened, Rags was mad about a call, rightfully so. I think it was a bad call, and was yelling at the ref. And the ref started coming over to him, and Rags, as soon as the ref started walking away, and Cuff stepped into the.
But
path.
he wasn't walking. That ref was.
He was hoofing.
He was Micah Shrewsbury over to Rags.
There was some intent, and Cuff dang near pushed the ref. Because he was pretty much setting a screen.
Yeah,
they were trying to keep the ref from
there was a collision that they were walking into each other, and then Cuff just put his arms out to get past him, and the ref did not like it.
No, I mean Cuff knew what he was doing,
of course.
But this was all after Rags yelled some expletives that I cannot repeat. But there was again that was in response to that bad foul call. So we were getting kind of nervous for a second there because of it, but yeah, it was just wild to see. Yeah. And then an hour later, 2 hours later, an hour and a half later is when we saw the Shrewsbury thing.
Yeah, there was also these kids that were End of the game, right? It's a tight game. Like Evansville's down. Every timeout or review, this one kid was trying to tell his friend, he was like, it's our ball, it said they pointed this way, it's our ball, but it was like they're pointing to Rags to grant the timeout. It was like, it was like, look, it says POS, it's pointed our way, that's our ball. And the other kid was like trying to explain to him that like that's not what's happening. And it just was not going over well.
Yeah. And then the game ended. Like we said, they ended up losing. And we pretty much sprinted out of there and
got met with a train.
We got in the car, started driving over across town to.
We've driven on every road in Evansville.
Our GPS took us down every road. It was wild. We got the full experience. But yeah, we got stopped by a train
except
on the way there.
The campus.
Yeah, we did not see either campus really.
We're on Southern Indiana's campus. Yeah. We drove by USI's campus and was like, oh, it's raining, can't even see it. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
But we start heading down this road. Then we got hit by a train. We rerouted.
No, we did not get hit by a train. We did not get hit by a train.
We got stopped by a very long train. Hit a 3-point turn in the road, turned around, got on the Lloyd Expressway, which is like the main strip that goes through the town. And then we got hit with some nasty traffic. Got stuck in some nasty traffic. So I did.
You can get hit with traffic. You can get hit with traffic. We did not get hit by a train.
So then I took I just turned off the road, took some back roads, was like trying to get back. It was an adventure. All to try to get there, to get to Southern Indiana before tip.
Which we did.
Which we did. We were fortunate they were playing a doubleheader, so their women's game got ended. I think a little closer to the men's tip. So obviously with all the warm-ups and stuff. But the game was incredible. Liberty Arena, beautiful. I could watch a game in there every day of the week.
Yeah, it was super nice. It was, I think our name should be on a seat, given that we paid for it. We helped. Yeah.
It was also Military Appreciation Day.
That was cool.
So they did obviously the normal POWMIA honor.
And all veterans.
They actually stretched out. We missed this part, but they stretched out an American flag across the court. And I believe most of the people holding them were veterans.
I would assume
or active duty service members. So that was really cool. Game was absolute blast. After the game, during the game, we saw a kid dive into the scorers table and almost take out our friend Brad. Then afterwards, we got to meet up with Coach Sprue.
A player, not a kid, not just some random kid.
Yeah, a player.
It was a Western Illinois player.
But then we met up with Coach Sprue after the game. Got a pretty quick tour. Got to see the locker room. Pretty sick. Hear about that. Saw their
weight room,
their training. Well, their trainer's room, where their hot and cold tubs are. Yep. We got to see their practice gym, their weight room. Beautiful weight room, state of the art stuff. They've got scanners on all the squat racks to help measure output. And then that was that. Got to talk to him a little bit. Got some food recommendations.
Yeah, then after that we went to light dinner at
Peroni's. Pizza and craft beer.
It felt awkward because we were sitting in the bar side of the restaurant at a 5-6 table, just the two of us, and the waitress like, I don't mind, just sit here, please. Yeah. I don't mind. And we're like, okay. So I got to try all their beers. They were all pretty good.
Pretty good breadsticks.
Jaren and I shared a margarita pizza. It was
a little 9-inch guy.
Yeah. Pause.
Little 9-inch pizza, cutting squares.
There we go.
Cutting squares, which is fun. If for any of our Fort Wayne listeners or people who are familiar with Fort Wayne or even some
the extended areas
or kind of central Indiana, had very similar vibes to Pizza King.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with Pizza King, at least the Fort Wayne. I've not been to other Pizza King locations. Like I never went in Muncie, but specifically with Fort Wayne, or if you're familiar with Pizza King in Fort Wayne, had those vibes, which is always just it's cozy, you know.
It's dark in there, you know.
Yeah.
Lights aren't on.
Pretty much.
It was a good time. So we went there, and then afterwards we went to did we just go straight to Tiki?
Yeah, we went to Tiki
We
on
went
Main.
to Tiki on Main, right by the Ford Center, and had some drinks, had some food, and then
they had these pretzel bites that had jalapeno cream cheese inside. Really good because you just take a bite and it just is gooey and like nice and warm.
And then that's when Jaren and I realized we were old, and that had been a long day.
Well, it had been a long day. We were like, why are there no college kids out?
Yeah, it was like, you know, we were like some of the younger people. We were like some of the youngest people in Tiki at the Tiki.
Yeah,
and we were like, this is kind of odd. And
then we realized it was only 8 o'clock.
I was like, looked at my phone. I was like, Jaren, it's 8. It is 8 o'clock right now.
That's
that
why
makes
there's
sense.
no college kids.
We have to stay here for 3 more hours before they even start trickling in.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, let's go back to the hotel. Go to the hotel.
Couldn't figure out how to turn the TV. We had a 10-minute debacle trying to figure out how to work the TV because it was just stuck on the TV Guide channel, not the guide to open, the TV Guide channel, and I didn't realize. So we were like, just flip it through channels. We were gonna turn on the NFL game, the Commanders Lions game.
Yeah.
Then we were like, nah. We're looking for the I think it was the end of the Duke game.
And then
we found
fate happened.
Then we found Harry Potter on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, we saw Goblet of Fire
was on. So we're just sitting there. We're sharing a king bed because we just didn't want to pay the extra money for a double queen. For being in the room for
and we like to cuddle.
6 hours of sleep. We did not cuddle. We slept back to back. We slept back to back.
He thinks when I woke up, a different story.
But yeah, watched Harry Potter until we both fell asleep. Adam discovered that TVs have sleep timers on them.
I did not know that.
He was never familiar with that.
I've never seen that in my life.
That was a fun experience. Then we got up at the butt crack of dawn at 5 o'clock.
Not even. We were deep in there. Dawn was not even. We weren't even sniffing dawn.
But got up at 5. Got out of there at 6. Went and got what was it? Donut Bank.
Donut Bank. Got some big coffees. We each got 3 donuts.
Not inside of a bank.
I know. I was hoping.
The front door was a vault.
Yeah. You gotta
exactly
spin the thing.
Exactly. So those were good. And then we ate a couple at the spot.
I think my favorite one was probably the cinnamon roll. Just the cinnamon roll donut.
Yeah.
I had it when I got home. It was really good.
I had a raspberry filled.
Yep.
Always love a good raspberry.
And we
filled.
each got Bavarian cream because
it's the only donut that matters. Yeah. And we took the drive home. Took a pit stop at IKEA, and now we're here. Anything else from the trip, Adam? How would you rate Evansville?
The city?
Yep.
The whole experience was 10 out of 10. I mean, the only thing that could have been better is if I wasn't so old.
Yeah. It was.
I would have liked
to. Both of us.
I would have liked to have, see, and I guess I would have liked to have seen the campuses.
Yep.
And walked the campuses. Like if we had been there, well, we couldn't even have been there earlier. But like if we had an extra day or something, just to like go around campus and see Evansville and see Southern Indiana, because we didn't get to do that just because our schedule was so tight.
Yep.
And then by the time we got done with the game and dinner, it was
pitch black out.
Yeah, dark as can be.
Yeah.
Winter, man.
It'd be like that. All right. Want to talk about the games to be aware of for next week?
We talked about this week. Let's talk about next week. We've got 2 in-state matchups this week. So on the 25th, that's Saturday, we've got 2 in-state matchups. We've got Purdue Fort Wayne is traveling down to IU Indy. IU Indy is 6.5-point underdogs there. This game is cool because IU Indy, I had been begging since Casaro got the job to bring back the Metros, to please bring back the Metros, and they did. So this is homecoming for them. They're bringing back the Metros jersey. I've got my Metros shirtsy, I guess it kind of is, from home field. I picked that up. I will be wearing that day. I would like to be in attendance. I don't know that I will be, but then our other in-state matchup is Evansville is going to Valpo, so that's going to be in the Arc. That's at 4 p.m. IU Indy, PFW's at 2 p.m. Same line, same spread on this. 6.5 point favorites. This time, this time it's for the home team who's favored 6.5 points. So 2 in-state matchups this week, and I think that they both got huge implications, especially if Purdue Fort Wayne loses. That's going to shake up the Horizon League race a little bit more.
Yep. Then one other game that I just want to touch on before we move on to the other 49. Purdue plays Michigan. Michigan is no longer undefeated in the Big Ten, but they are at the top of the table right now. Obviously, Purdue is there as well. So that has, in my opinion, some serious conference implications. But that is January 24th at 8 p.m. and Purdue are 3.5 point favorites.
It's really going to test their bigs.
Purdue's bigs.
Yes.
Because Michigan plays with 2 7-footers on the court.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And Purdue
is somehow lacking in 7-footers with proven production.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting. Indiana State has a chance to get back in the win column this week. They go at Illinois State. They're 13-point dogs. Then they've got Northern Iowa at home. They're 2.5-point dogs. So they've got to pull one out to get back in the win column. And then Butler, DePaul, please.
Yeah. Yep.
Please don't lose to DePaul.
That is Saturday.
Avenge Southern Indiana.
Yeah.
Avenge your brethren.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the other 49. So, looking at last week, Monday, January 13th, McNeese beat Houston Christian 75-59. That keeps them undefeated in the Southland. That was really the big. Weren't many games on Monday.
There never are.
Yeah, Tuesdays are the other heavy days. So what happened Tuesday, Adam?
A lot. So number 1 Auburn on Tuesday, January 14th. They stomped Mississippi State 88-66. They're still playing without Janai Broom. He's still no confirmation on when he's going to be back. I assume he's going to be out for the Tennessee game this upcoming week. But then Ole Miss beat Bama at Bama by 10. Right? 74-64.
Yes.
Florida beat Missouri 83-82. Missouri, great story. Just they went 0-18 last year. Playing a lot better this year, so they've been really good. But also Florida's top 5, so it makes sense. DePaul got there. DePaul was so close. They lost to Marquette 85-83, and then Arizona beat Baylor 81-70. So Arizona is kind of back. Stumbles.
It's so weird seeing them not have a number next to their name.
Yeah. They normally just like he was like the winningest coach in like college basketball through like his first 3 seasons or something, like something crazy.
And Wednesday, January 15th, number 2 Iowa State beat number 9 Kansas 74-57. So Iowa State's defense doing Iowa State defense things. Then UNLV beat number 22 Utah State 65-63. Then another game, absolutely wild. UMass beat Fordham 120-118 in triple overtime. The wild thing about this game is this was the most free throw attempts in a D1 game since the 96-97 season, and the most combined personal fouls since 2017. 79 personal fouls. 10 players fouled out this game.
It's insane, dude. Like, if this is like the sickos game. Like,
they played an additional half almost.
Yeah.
Like,
and they could have gone to another one.
Yeah. Like it just absolutely wild. It reminds me, but I felt like if it would have gone any longer, it would have been like the Alabama game several years ago when Colin
against
Sexton was
Oklahoma.
there. When Alabama was playing with 3 dudes on the court because their entire bench and 2 of their starters all got ejected or fouled out.
Or what? Or wasn't it Oklahoma that happened to? And there was because it was Trae Young. Was it Trae Young or Colin Sexton?
I thought it was Bama.
Was it Bama, Oklahoma?
I don't remember.
Crazy. I don't know. I remember what you're talking about. Vaguely. Either one of us is wrong. One of us is wrong. Probably
there was a game that was played where 3
Yeah.
guys were on the court because
their
a lot of
whole
the second
bench
half,
got ejected
yeah.
because they all got up and onto the court or something.
Yeah. Let's move on to Thursday though.
79 fouls, dude. That's insane. Thursday, Oregon State beat Gonzaga 97-89. I'm sure they're not too happy that Oregon State got invited to the WCC this year after the Pac-12 fell apart. Temple beat 18 Memphis. Rough time for being a ranked team in a mid-major league here. 88-81. And then Minnesota beat number 20 Michigan in overtime, 84-81. Dawson Garcia from the mid logo 3, just throwing it up there, you're either going to double overtime or you're winning it, and he just
could you, or some would say that Dawson Garcia did Michigan dirty in the barn. Call back to last week's game.
Some would say.
Game of the
so
day.
I mean, that's a brutal loss for Michigan, but it makes everyone else's wins against Minnesota better wins because they moved up in the quadrants.
True. So Friday, January 17th, Akron handed Ohio their first conference loss of the season by beating them by 12, 92-80. And then Akron goes to 5-0 in the conference, and Ohio is 4-1. And then Fresno State got their first conference win of the season by beating Air Force 74-65. Air Force is 0-7. So both teams were competing for their first conference win.
Something had to give, I guess.
Yep.
Saturday, Auburn wins again. They beat 23 Georgia, 70-68. Georgia had a chance to win it, a couple chances actually to win it and or tie it, I guess.
Yeah.
Send it to overtime, and that didn't happen. West Virginia beat number 2 Iowa State, 64-57. They have taken their first loss in conference, so now Houston's atop the standings in the Big 12 by themselves, and just showing people what everyone else who knew about the Missouri Valley knew years ago, and that's Darren DeVries is a dang good coach.
Yep.
So it's not a surprise. Number 4 Alabama beat 8 Kentucky 102-97 at Rupp Arena. So Alabama saw a loss at home and then stole one on the road, so they get back even, back to where they need to be. Vandy beat number 6 Tennessee 76-75. Stormed the court, understandably, because Vandy had been terrible. But Vandy's been great this season, off to their best start in a long time. Xavier beat 7 Marquette 59-57. Tough. Just tough. Creighton beat UConn, number 14 UConn 68-63. And Dan Hurley goes ballistic again on some refs, dude. And I do not understand how he's not getting technicals.
I don't know.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because he's in the league. Thad Matta. If Thad Matta said a tenth of what Hurley does, he'd be ejected.
Yeah.
Didn't he get ejected?
I don't remember.
I can't remember if he got ejected last year or this year, but or maybe he just got a tech. He would be thrown out of these games. And then Santa Clara beat 16 Gonzaga. So tough week for Gonzaga because they lost 103-99. I think this game was in the kennel too. And they were 15-point favorites, and they lose by 4 to Santa Clara. So, I mean, Gonzaga has to be careful. They're not going to miss the tournament, but they didn't really do anything in the non-conference. Nothing was exciting other than that Baylor win.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty much it. And so they got to be careful because they're going to be dropping some seed lines real quick, taking losses like this in the WCC.
Yep. And then Sunday, January 19th, today, number 12 Michigan State stays undefeated in conference play by beating 19 Illinois 80-78. I believe Michigan State is the only remaining undefeated conference Big Ten.
They are
undefeated in conference play. Then TCU beat 25 Baylor 74-71.
All right.
Last week.
Let's talk about next week real quick.
Yep.
So Monday on January 20th, our game of the day is Rutgers at Penn State. Penn State's 7.5-point favorites, and that game's at 7 p.m. Ace Baldwin if he's playing. I think he's back. He's missed some games. Versus Dylan Harper should be very interesting. A big unstoppable force meets a movable object type deal.
Yep.
So that should be a good matchup there.
Tuesday, January 24th, we've got Bradley.
21st.
We've got Bradley at Belmont at 7:30. Bradley are 3-point favorites, which is wild. But these are the 1 and 2 teams in the MVC respectively.
Mm-hmm. Wednesday, the 22nd, Georgia goes to Arkansas. It's like an even line. They're like a 0.5-point favorite. That's at 9 p.m. Arkansas is 5-0 in the SEC.
0-5.
0-5 in the SEC. And Al I don't know if he's ever been 0-5 in the SEC in conference ever. And if he has, the last time it happened, I know the last time he started like 0-3 was his very first year at UMass. So like this is bad, and I'm sure Kentucky's had some stumbles this year with Pope, but they've been good and had some good with bad, and I'm sure they are just laughing, just laughing that this is not happening to them, and it's happening at Arkansas now.
And then Thursday, the 23rd, we've got Morehead State, who are 0.5-point favorites at Eastern Illinois. That's at 8:30 p.m. This is the first versus last place team in the Ohio Valley Conference.
Need an Eastern Illinois steal one for the Screegs.
Yep.
We got some action on Friday the 24th. Kent State goes to Ohio. Ohio's 5-point favorites, so at 7 p.m. you can tune into that. Ohio's 4-1. Kent is 2-3, but they're like 30 points separated or in Torvik, so they're pretty comparable. Just Kent has dropped, a couple more games than they thought that they would. So really good MAC implications, especially looking at where Ball State is after losing 2 this week.
Yep. And then Saturday the 25th, Houston are 4-point favorites at Kansas. That's a 6:30 p.m. tip. Houston is still undefeated in the Big 12. We also see Tennessee playing at Auburn. Auburn are 10-point favorites in that game. That's at 8:30 p.m.
Yeah, and I assume the 10 points is like it has to assume that Broom's playing, even though he's out, just because it's on the computer. But like, I don't think it's going to be a 10-point line.
No,
when it comes out, especially if Broom's not playing, which I expect him not to. I mean, I think that they said something along the lines of like, we're going to rest him as long as he needs to, because they don't need him in January. They need him hopefully in April.
Yeah.
is their hope.
Yeah.
Sunday the 26th, our game is Navy at Army at 3:30 p.m. Army is favored by 5. This is the Army-Navy game that gets its own day.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's right.
Yeah.
There's no other games this day, I believe. I believe that's how it works when Army and Navy play each other.
All right. So before we wrap up, as always, we've got our Guess the Game of the Week. A reminder, Adam and I are both 3-7.
What horrible records.
We say it every week that this could be the week, but I'm not going to, that one of us separates each other. I'm going to stop saying that because it keeps
not happening.
We keep moving in the wrong direction, both of us. So I'll let you read your guess or your hint clue to me.
All right, you ready, Jaren? All right, so my guess the game this week is Dragon Hunts for Coins.
Dragon Hunts for Coins. So Dragon, I instantly think UAB. So UAB and coins. Coins. Well, I think like a pot of gold. That'd be the Irish.
Okay.
I don't think that that's right.
UAB now in the ACC.
Right. I mean, hey, with these days,
anything can happen.
So UAB playing coins. Coins. Who the heck could this be?
Who could it be?
Coins, COINS, College of
International Studies.
Right, yeah. No, that's not a school. And if it is, it's not. If they're not playing UAB, coins digging. Are there any minors? UAB, UNC Charlotte.
You were so excited, man. I'm so sorry.
Oh no!
You were so excited. That was it hurts me to tell you that you're wrong. The game is, you were right on UAB. It's UAB at Memphis. Who's Memphis coach? Penny. That is Sunday, January 26th at 1 p.m. UAB plays at Memphis.
Goodness gracious.
You got me with the dusty to dirty last week. I got you with the coins to penny this week. That brings you to 3-8. I'm ready to go 3-8.
Okay.
We got to keep it even. I want us to go the last week. One of us pulls away. we do it the week of the national championship game. So we both have to pick it. Then we both go to 4 and whatever.
Okay, so I've got, for my guess the game, a hotel in New York.
A hotel in New York?
A hotel in New York.
New York makes me think of St. John's, and it makes me think of Iona. Hotel. Fairfield. I've done the Fairfield Inn. Are you going to rip the Fairfield Inn again? Is Fairfield in the MAC? I don't know. But you know what? I'm gonna let it ride. Fairfield at Iona is my guess.
You got Fairfield right. Fairfield.
Wait. Is it Manhattan?
Yep. Fairfield at Manhattan.
I knew it.
That game is 7 p.m. Thursday, January 23rd. We are both now 3-8, and I was only a couple weeks early on the Charlotte versus UAB game. They play on the 1st. They play in 2 weeks. Oh, that's the Charlotte 49ers. That's what I was going with, the Miners.
That, I would have given it to you if you'd guessed the team right. I guess you had the team name. Man, that was good. New York. The question is, are either of those teams in the MAC? Fairfield? I feel like they're not. We got to do some searching.
They are. They're in the MAC.
Dude, come on. The Manhattan. Is Long Island also in the MAC?
Not that I'm aware of.
Long Island. Longwood. Long Beach State. That's what I was meaning. No, I don't want to compare. Anyway.
All right. Well, anything else for the viewers and listeners? Notre Dame plays in the college football championship game on the 20th. That is tomorrow for our visual watchers, or I guess our live watchers. That is today for all of our friends that have notifications turned on for Spotify or Apple Podcasts and get, listen on Mondays. But
if you're not listening to us on Monday, you already know who won.
Yeah, and we don't. So
maybe you could comment, and then we can put in a bet accordingly now, and it'll
that is
temporal loop or something. It'll work.
That is quite literally not how that works.
It could.
But shout out before we leave. Your mother.
Yeah.
Is loving the road trip discussion. She loves the.
We did not get to go see their old house. My parents, and some of my siblings, because not all of us were born at that point. They did live in Evansville, pretty close to the University of Evansville, so did not get to take a swing by there, unfortunately, because we were so pressed for time.
She also wishes she could have seen us struggle with the TV. That was a whole
Hey,
thing.
I never touched the remote.
Yeah, well,
I never touched the remote.
It was a bad time. All right, well, I think that is
That's
the
show.
show. This clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next week. And remember, in 49 states,
it's just basketball.